Hello and welcome back. Today's video is going to be a mid-month reading vlog. I am making great progress on the books that I am reading right now, and I am also going to be starting a new book today. Come along with me. Let's get reading. I actually did make some progress on my reading. I finished A Diary of Blood, and let me tell y'all, it was an amazing book. The book is told from the perspective of Constanta, which is supposedly Dracula's first wife, but there is mention in the book of previous wives or lovers or other people that he had been with. So she's the first one, at least in the period of time that this book takes place. She is narrating the story as if she were writing a letter to Dracula. And it goes from the very beginning of their relationship to the very end of their relationship and everything that happened in between. It is a very heavy book, and it deals with a lot of very heavy topics like abuse, control, someone that pretty much took away her freedom and didn't let her be and have the life that she wanted to have. We have two more characters that come into the relationship who are Magdalena and Alexei. And those two characters they all become a polyamorous relationship. And the bond that those three people form is amazing. The way that they have to band together to be able to handle Dracula and all his mischievous behavior, how they all suffer his abuse in different forms. You get to see the raw emotions of everything that they go through. And you also get to see all the behind the scenes emotional toll and how they support each other. We don't really get a perspective from Dracula's point of view, so we don't actually know what he's thinking or feeling. But I feel like, considering his behavior throughout the book, the fair thing to do is to have the perspective from Alexei, Magdalena, and Constanta. I'm not going to say much about the book because I don't want to spoil it, but I definitely recommend it if you're looking for something darker and more emotional, something that is filled with a lot of found family and growth. So definitely highly recommend this book. It's really good. Also, it's a really short book. It was maybe almost 300 pages, so it's pretty quick. I did take a lot of time to read it just because I haven't been as consistent with my reading, like reading every day. But considering how much I take reading an actual book normally, that was kind of a really quick read for me. While I was reading A Diary of Blood, I was also reading When Women Were Dragons. And that is another book that has been insanely heavy. I did not expect this book to deal with so many important topics as it did. Like, I knew it was going to be a book that was gonna touch on things that may or may not be triggering. But for the most part, I thought it was going to be, different. I don't even know what I thought it was going to be. I just know that the book has been very empowering. Even though it's been frustrating at times, it's been empowering mostly because the book deals with how women have been oppressed in the past and still to this day. It just talks about all the things that women go through, the things that are expected of us, and how we have to make huge sacrifices in order for us to do the things that we want to do, just because society thinks that our roles are determined and are a specific thing, and we have to leave the science and the work and all that stuff to men, which is ridiculous. But I know that is something that still happens to this day, and it definitely needs to stop. But that's a different topic we're not gonna get into right now. I have not finished the book. I am 75% through the book, I believe. It's not a book that I can just play in the background. It's something that I need to pay attention to, so I've been going slowly so that I can make sure that I'm reading it when I'm in the right headspace. But definitely between yesterday and today, I really got in the groove with the book, and I feel like I'm more familiarized with the story and with the world and what's happening. I feel like I am probably going to finish this today. I already listened to probably like 30 or 40% of the book since I woke up. And I still have a couple more hours that I can dedicate to reading, so I'm probably going to be listening to that. But I also want to make progress on Assistant to a Villain because I have not touched that book in days. And I also should make some progress on Iron Flame because, again, it's a book that I have not touched in days, maybe a week. I may just try to read a little bit of those two books, but for the most part, When Women Were Dragons is the book that I'm trying to get through right now because I am like focused. super focused on that book. I'm gonna go do that and I'll be back with an update. It's been about 2 hours and I switched locations because I am going to try and read a little bit of Assistant to a Villain. So I'm going to be working on that on my office so that I can have the table and be all comfortable and annotating all that stuff. But I managed to finish When Women Were Dragons and I am mind blown. This book is amazing. I knew it was going to be a 5-star. I didn't know how much I was going to love it. Like I said before, this book deals with a lot of complexity, a lot of very heavy and very important topics. Now that I read the last part that I have left of the book, I can see how the women being dragons part is just a metaphor. And the book, at least in my interpretation, it mentions women, but to be honest, reading in between the lines and interpreting beyond what is being said in this book, I realize that when they say women, it's actually minority group. Every single minority groups I could think of was represented somehow in there. The things that they go through, the struggles, the way there's been pushback from society, the way that society has tried to create a taboo around things that they don't understand. And instead of trying to understand them and try to put themselves in the shoes of someone else, they've just tried to shove it to the side and basically invalidate people's feelings and experiences. So I love how this book is so hopeful in the sense of, hey, as a society, we do have the capability and we do have what it takes to grow out of that and do better. I highly recommend this book. I don't want to get too much into the details because I feel like not knowing the topics and the themes was really a huge part of my reading experience. And so obviously I want anyone that reads this to have the same experience or even a better experience as they discover the story and they discover all the little details that are hiding in plain sight and the way that this author beautifully brought all those things to the surface without having to be very explicit about every single thing. It felt like a scavenger hunt. It felt like I was digging for treasures as I was listening. And so it made it very interesting, very engaging. I feel like especially the last 25% of the book was filled with so many things. That last portion of the book had me discovering things left and right. This is a must read. This is 5 billion stars. Honestly, books like these need to gain more popularity because I'm really into like other popular books and romance and fantasy and all these things, but I feel like the complexity of books like these are very important and very necessary, especially to help us as a society open our minds and try to be more empathetic and be more loving and accepting of each other, you know? So I highly recommend this book. Now I am going to attempt to make progress on Assistant of the Villain, like I said. So I'm going to do that and I will be back later. I finished one chapter of Assistant to a Villain, which doesn't feel like a lot, but I feel like it's still good progress. I may return to it later today, but I remember something that I did not mention earlier in the vlog. If you've seen my January TBR and my goals for reading and all that stuff, I mentioned that I had finished the first book in the Throne of Glass series and that I was going to proceed with Crown of Midnight. Well, here is what has happened with that. I actually changed my mind. I realized that I had the physical copy of Throne of Glass and then I also have Crown of Midnight as paperback. What I decided to do was, since I have these two, the first two in physical form, I was thinking about going through them, reading them, and annotating. And yes, I just finished Throne of Glass, the audiobook, in December, but I feel like I didn't actually understand what was going on. So I feel like I should not proceed with the series if I don't actually know what happened in this book. Because I do have an idea of what happened because I did pay attention as much as I could, but it wasn't as much as I thought I had. And so I feel like it is important for me to go back and revisit this book. So since I have it as a physical book, I am just going to go back, annotate it, and I'm going to take my time with it just to really know what's going on, because the Sarah J. Maas world is so big that I honestly don't feel in a rush to get through it. I do have Crescent City over here that will have to wait. I'm also thinking about doing a reread of the ACOTAR series. But again, I want to do it in a physical form so that I can annotate and actually grasp what happened, because I do have a vague idea of what happened in the books, but I don't really remember, and I don't feel like I enjoyed them as much as I should. So these are probably going to be books that I'm going to be switching to physical form so that I can read them. I'm not necessarily in the mood for these books right now, so I might just pause the series for now and then revisit it later in the year when I feel more up to reading that. There are a bunch of books that I need to really get to that I feel more inclined to reading right now than the Sarah J. Maas world. So maybe if I just get those books that are not really long series out of the way, or a series that I'm about to finish, then it'll be easier for me to just jump into something else. I have to look at my list because obviously it's been half a month since I recorded the previous video, recorded and posted the previous video that I was talking about my TBR. So I actually have to go back and see what books I said I was going to read. I did finish Cruel Boy, which was, I think, the first book that I was saying that I was going to read because I already had started in December. I have, surprisingly, been going through the TBR that I had set for myself. However, after finishing A Diary of Blood last night, or this morning, I guess, I do want to continue reading something on my Kindle. So I decided on, or I haven't actually decided on, but I feel very inclined to reading The Legacies by Jessica Goodman. This has been on my TBR for years, or at least for a really long time. I don't know when this book came out. So I might end up reading other things this month, or at least starting other things that I didn't mention on my original video. But yeah, that is my update for now. I'm gonna go check that TBR and I'll be back. Update, I have no idea where the notebook is where I wrote my TBR. But I'm pretty sure that I managed to talk about all the books that I mentioned there. So I feel confident. I should probably go rewatch the video that I already posted. But anyway, let's move on from that. I did forget to mention that I did add 2 books that were not originally on the list. And the reason why I did that was because I went to the library and I wanted to get something that wasn't reading for fun, more like for skill. And if you've watched my previous videos, I've talked about how I participated in NaNoWriMo and then ended up deciding that I just wanted to keep on writing the novel that I started. So I found 2 books at the library that I'm going to be using, or I already started using, to get ideas and learn how to properly write a novel. So things like structure, character development, making sure that the story doesn't have plot holes, etc., etc., etc. So the first book I picked up is called Learning to Write Fiction from the Masters by Barnaby Conrad. This one is like the overarching structure. This one is going to help me understand what parts my book should have. There's mention of many authors in here that are very popular, but they're like way back in the day. Another book that I got is called Storyville, an illustrated guide to writing fiction by John Dufresne. So it's this book. And what really got me, like, caught my attention about this book is probably because it is illustrated. Like, I opened it and it's like there's pictures, okay? And I feel like this is very helpful for when one is trying to come up with creative things, because it brings more to the conversation beyond just words, you know? I expect to get through it easier because it's more fun. Also, the reason why I am leaving this one for later on. So those are the books that I ended up adding to my TBR. And of course, what I mentioned, The Legacies. I have at least half of January still to go. So who knows what else I'm going to end up reading, what else I'm going to end up thinking about or hyperfixating And who knows how much progress I'm gonna make in the books that I'm already reading. So we'll see. I do have another audiobook that I want to get into that is called The E Method or something. I don't know. A more of a businessy, self-helpy book kind of thing that I actually found while watching YouTube videos on how to do YouTube videos. I don't remember the creator that shared it, but he said that that was one of the books that helped him the most to be more efficient, more effective, and overall to just grow his channel. So I'm very much looking forward to listening to that and get some advice and tangible steps that I can apply to my journey as a YouTube creator or whatever. So I will also keep you posted on that. I think this vlog is long enough, so I'm going to leave it at this. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to go and check out my January TBR video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.